The Black-owned Spotlight Show.
What's up, everybody? I am your host, Day, and welcome back to the Black-owned Spotlight Show, where I get a chance to sit down with some of today's most influential and inspirational Black business owners and open your mind to life beyond a 9-to-5. So today I have with me Mr. Jewerl Stroman. How are you doing, Jewerl?
I'm doing well. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you again. And Jewerl is the owner of Oddz and Endz. Do you call it Oddz and Endz Catering, Oddz and Endz, or just Oddz and Endz?
So Oddz and Endz for short. Oddz and Endz Southern Cuisine is the full name.
Oddz and Endz Southern Cuisine, and later in the interview, you guys are actually going to see Jewerl at work, and I'm going to get to taste some of his delicious B.O.S.S shrimp. Can't wait for that because I definitely came hungry. But we'll go ahead and jump into the interview now.
Right.
So let's just start with how it all started.
So this actually happened during the pandemic. I've always cooked, nonetheless, but I literally just kept saying, okay, let me stop doing this just, ask for favors. Like, this is something I've become passionate about. Mm-hmm. And it's very therapeutic as well. And so I just kind of went ahead and just did a faith move and pushed out with one of my signature dishes, which is my daddy's gumbo, that I call it. Just because I think it was the best way to really break through the market. Mm-hmm. And not do something so simple as just, starting up with little small wing dinners. And when I did that, it just went ahead and took off, and it's really been the power of the word of mouth.
Yeah, the power of word of mouth, I'm learning. I learned really in 2020 how big word of mouth is. Like, social media is good, but you can't beat word of mouth because that comes with a recommendation.
Right.
But how did the gumbo get its name, Daddy's Gumbo?
Because it's actually my daddy's gumbo.
Okay.
He's the one that really originated bringing that into my family, and we all grew up eating it. Mm-hmm. And certain family members have adopted it themselves, yeah, and have, of course, made it their different renditions. But his recipe is ideally the base for it. And even the way I make it, it's a little tweaked because my palate for flavors and combinations is a little bit different because my upbringing is a bit more diverse than my father's is, because I have a Louisiana, Texas background, and then my family is also blended with some Caribbean because of my stepdad being from Trinidad, and then my mom is actually from Connecticut, and so we have a big blend of cuisines in one time, and so I often call my food a cross cuisine or flavor fusion, if anything. But it's definitely a Southern situation, if anything. Okay.
Would you say Daddy's Gumbo is the best item since you've created other items since then, or what would you say your best dish is?
Daddy's Gumbo is definitely a top seller. I've literally been scraping the pot clean to the point that I don't usually get to eat any of it.
That's the worst.
Right. It's a good situation to be in, but not when I'm actually hungry and now I don't have any of my own. But so the Daddy's Gumbo's been a hit. My seafood pasta has also been a very big hit. And then of course the B.O.S.S wings have just taken off on their own. And everybody's just been very infatuated with just figuring out what that flavor is going to be like.
Yeah.
And so I've been doing, a new thing now with just doing, reaction videos, because sometimes that is just even more of what you think you're getting ready to get when you go ahead and taste these wings. So those have been some of my top 3 so far, even though I have a full menu. But of course, people eat with their eyes and they eat with what's trending. And so I found myself cooking some of the same few menu items most often, more than others. But those will be my top 3.
So what do you want people to think of when they think of Oddz and Endz? Because I'm looking at you, you're very put together. You guys, I've known Jewerl since high school, but Jewerl's always been very put together.
Well, thank you.
But what do you want people to think about? What do you want that vision to be when they think of Oddz and Endz Southern Cuisine?
I think that really makes me have to go to the beginning of the name. Okay. And so what the Black culture's staple food items that we eat now, even just at brunch, like, shrimp and grits, chicken and waffles, or even like what gumbo is. Gumbo has essentially been, back in the days, what were the scraps that we had and they put it together and made it a dish.
Yeah.
Just like, we eat pig feet and, chitlins and all those kind of things and greens. Those were, essentially what people discarded, back in slave days, etc. And so, and those have become our staple items for the Black culture. And so it was always working with the odds and ends of what we had. And I even found myself even going through college, and I didn't have a whole lot of money and all that. And I finally got off my meal plan and started cooking for myself. And sometimes I just had to cook with what I had in the house. It wasn't always a structured setup for a full meal. It was just little here and there. And that's actually how I made my first, seafood pasta. And
Really?
and that seafood pasta has transitioned over the years. But it always depended on what I had on hand. So the funny thing about it now is that because I did used to cook with odds and ends, now trying to structure it and have it be consistent where it's not varying anymore and having actual recipes for things. But that's literally, that's the name, that's the brand. And so, and I like to do it also in a way too where it's a direct reflection of me. So it's very tasteful. It's not, and it's something that you can put in many settings where, you can be somewhere that it's, a glamorous event and you still have Southern food. Right. And I've done it in ways. Yeah, I've done it in ways where it's not like, oh, that doesn't fit the aesthetic of what we're doing kind of thing, because there's many menu items. But I always like to say, and I have been told, food will never go out of style. And one thing about it is if it's good, and it's going to hit at any given day, at any given time. So I think that's one of the things too that I try and drive about my brand is I'm here for a flavor experience. I want you to enjoy this food. Like, one thing you're gonna always remember, if you go somewhere, if the food was good, you can be like, you gonna go back and be like, you're gonna be talking about that food. And if it was bad, you're gonna still go back and you're gonna talk about that food was bad. And so I want to always make sure people walk away and have a great experience with it. And I've also been prepared that maybe people are not always gonna like the same things. But I make sure that I cook with love and I cook with, positive intent, and that make sure that it comes through the food.
Okay. You said that you started Oddz and Endz since when the pandemic started. So that was like around March?
Actually, really started out right around July, I want to say, June, July.
Okay. So I want you to talk about how, because June, July was not that far off. But how has this business changed your life in this short amount of time?
So this has definitely changed a lot of things for me, especially considering I've been in my original career that I studied for in supply chain management. And I've been doing that since I graduated from Howard University. And literally,
Go ahead, rep your school.
I'm a diehard alum. I will always talk about Howard. I don't care. It's gonna always be in part of my brand.
It's a great school.
And it's still a part of even what I'm doing now, even though I'm not directly in my field. But I've been doing that for so long, and so it's also been a bit of a challenge to transition over. But I think it's just really made me realize that I had so much more to offer than what corporate put me in a box to be. They asked for millennial input. They asked for these great personalities and diverse backgrounds, and they want the culture and they want all these things. But when you get in there, they're not ready to move, and they slowly but surely close you in to have to kind of either conform to where they are, or literally you're going to stick out so much that you kind of get pushed out one way or another as well. And so it's kind of an interesting space to operate in depending on your personality type and what you really do. I always felt like they weren't catching my full essence. A big part of me and a part of my brand has been my personality, who I am, having a brand of I'm Jewerl first and then Oddz and Endz goes from there. And so when I did launch, it was like a gunshot off. Like, and I have a track background, so I'm already in my mind, like, I felt like I have been literally in this new type of race, and it's just been so many opportunities that have shown up, so much support from people that didn't, to me, honestly, I wouldn't even think I was in their radar like that. And, and to me, I also think that when people start to be a part of the journey with you, it gets them a little bit more engaged and inclined to support in different ways. And I had to start learning to, when I was in corporate, I never was posting, I'm at work, I'm behind my desk, I'm doing this and that. And then there's confidential information. Now, whereas with my business that I'm doing, it's kind of essential to bring social media and people into what you're doing, because this is what they want to see, because you're making them a believer at the end of the day. And I feel like I have to be able to sell before they even get the product. And sometimes it's really them almost just believing in me or liking who I am, and just been like, man, just because it's you, I gotta try it. Like it's just like they like, oh, you're so dope, oh, whatever. And I always appreciate that, because I didn't used to be like this so much. I mean, I was always kind of a people person, but not so much where I have to let people into this new space that would be more of a personal space for me. So, but it's been a great journey for sure. It's put me in front of a lot of, different types of audiences. I've already worked celebrity events. I've already, done some really big catering events. I've traveled and catered. Actually, in each city I've been in so far, I've been able to be booked. From the time I came to Houston, I was booked before I landed and was booked for several days. And sometimes, and it can become overwhelming, but I said, you have to be very intentional and specific on things that you asked for when you asked for them. And so when I asked for this, and sometimes I'm like, ooh, I'm winded, ooh, I'm kind of tired, but then they're like, didn't you ask for that? And I'm like, you know what, you sure right. You're sure right. And sometimes that kind of really, reignites that speaking, over yourself, things that you want, and how those different types of intentions really come into play. And I'm a big person about affirmation and confirmation being all around you. And when I was in a place of contemplating about what I was going to do next, people just were around me just speaking right to what I needed to hear. And sometimes they didn't even know that they were on target for something, because they may have been completely out of context, but they really were on it. And so I firmly believe that that's how things really work. When you, put things out in the universe, it's laws of attraction. It's literally, those kind of things that really draw you more towards your target and what you're supposed to do. And after a certain while, I just kind of have to move by faith with things and just say, this is what I'm supposed to do. And I've had a lot of moments where I've literally had to speak that out, like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. It's some uncertainty sometimes. There's not a blueprint for some of these things. Like, nobody told me, like, this is what you need to do next to create a business. This is how you push yourself out there. You should put this item out first. Like, I just followed what I felt I needed to do at the time, and literally it's just really kind of taken legs of its own and just kind of became what it is. And to some degree, I kind of been feeling like, oh shoot, this is bigger than me. But, but everybody has always told me, Logan, you're bigger than what you think you are. And I'm just not even privy to who I am yet. And so I've also kind of grown into this space of, becoming self-aware. And not in a cocky way, but becoming self-aware of who you are, what part you play sometimes in your brand or your people around you, your network, what you become involved in, what you support. And I've been very big about also supporting Black businesses and knowing what that truly means. That doesn't mean going out and bargaining down people, with their pricing and literally, always trying to wiggle your way through things, or, the
homeboy hookup.
Right. And this
gotta stop that in 2021.
Right.
Pay full price.
Right.
I'm your friend.
And this is just a message that I want sometimes to resonate to people, especially when you're trying new Black business, especially somewhere in the food industry or anything like that. You'll go and frequent, some of the more commercialized businesses, and that can be your first experience. But you will go in there never knowing what this is going to be like, or anything about this particular company like that, and spend $30-$40 the very first time you go in there. But then somebody will be hesitant about spending $15 to $25 with a cook or
with their own friend
that they know do something really well, and they'll go just for different things. And so I kind of want people to remember that when you say that you support black businesses, are you really doing it in actual action, and how you really do that? And so I think that that's a mentality that it's got to be more than a trending topic and the hashtag to have, and Black Lives Matter and all that, but really do it when you go out and support these different businesses. Yeah, everything's not always going to be perfect, but they have to start getting that traction and being able to polish themselves and become better some type of way.
And I definitely think that that's so true, especially when the business is presenting itself professionally, as any other, I guess, Caucasian business would, or any other type of business. I see that a lot with certain businesses. They're really put together, and then people come in, they're like, oh, you guys are black owned, and it's like, oh, well, we can just act however we want to act. And it's like, no, conduct yourself as you would in a public establishment that's very well known that's not black. I won't get started naming people. But so you talked about like intentions, and something that's really been heavy on my brain lately is just like setting your intentions. What are the intentions that you set for Oddz and Endz?
My intentions is just really right now to be authentic, and that's the thing that I'm just trying to really drive. Don't try and get influenced so much on, oh, you should do this, oh, you should do that. Like, I try to make sure I'm always operating in my lane and do things that, okay, I'm not following what everybody else is doing. I have a certain brand and taste and flavor palette and style for how I want my brand to be. And I definitely want to make sure that I stay true to that and not get so caught up that, oh, everybody's doing shrimp and grits, why don't you have shrimp and grits?
Yeah.
Or we all love macaroni and cheese, you're a black business, you're supposed to have macaroni and cheese. Well, I have seafood pasta. So,
are you hungry?
Right. And not to say that those things can't eventually come about and whatnot, but I don't have to do these things just because every other black business has these things.
Yeah.
I don't have to, put on and be this, super, glitz and glam, whatever, when I know I'm here for a down-home good meal. Like, I don't want something that's going to be like, you did that, like I can't even tell I'm not even at home kind of food. And so that's kind of that lane that I like to operate in, because it's a lot of the places now that have the ambiance but don't have the flavor. They have the flavor, but they are hole in the wall. And it's kind of that teeter-totter between each one, and I'm kind of like, okay, where I'm operating in, I could really dwell right in that middle perfect section where I can I can dress it up, or I can keep it as down home as you want to keep it.
Exactly. Versatile.
Right. and have that ability to be agile through these different times. But it's one of those things that I'm just like, okay, make sure people see you through the food and really connect. And I spoke with somebody the other day, and it's like, she's like, people buy into your story. People buy into your, how you make them feel, the way that you really are executing your brand and who you are through your packaging or what you're serving out to people. So that's kind of the thing. I'm like, okay, stay true to that. Like, when I'm cooking, I get in the zone. I'll literally be in here on full blast for 4 or 5 hours blasting church music, because I'm getting on a spiritual high while I'm doing these things. And I've had people say, like, you must literally be praying over this food while you're making it, because there's some kind of anointing on this. Like, there's some kind of whatever. And I always laugh because I know one of my right-hand men, one of my friends, Cameron, that always comes in and helps me and effortlessly, comes in, but he comes in with a spirit of, just wanting to be there, and whatever I ask him to do, he comes in and just literally just shows up, and we literally go to church and start just cooking and stuff, but that all goes through, and people can taste that. And there's something about when you're doing something forced and how that comes out compared to doing something where it's very organic and you're in it and you can tell that this is a love dish now. And so that's what I want to make sure people kind of can taste when I do things. So that's been my vision for what the intentions are for this type of brand.
Okay. What about, you spoke about cooking and making your food being therapeutic. And I'm big on therapy. I'm big on self-care. What does Jewerl do to just maintain just having the highest form of self-care? What do you do for self-care when you're not in the kitchen?
For me, a lot really was like, working out, but also making sure I have that time to sometimes just by myself, away from people, because I can tend to always end up having somebody around me a lot.
Yeah.
But I'll always say this too with myself. I know a lot of people, but I roll with a small group of people, and I make sure I keep those people around me that share that same energy, share that same kind of thing, where it's not like somebody's sucking the life out of you, but they're reinstalling something as we're both kind of, just conversating or conversing. but and just vibe sometimes. And sometimes I just like, we just need to throw some music on, or just go, go out to a bar, or just go, somewhere you can let loose. And I'm a big person with, about being in new environments. I like to go out. I like to go do a lot of things. Like, people know I'm usually on the go because I like to experience stuff. And so I do that a lot of the times, a little bit more than I noticed for different reasons. But it really is a release for me because, it can be a lot of pressure. And then, especially when somebody's asking for a lot in a short amount of time, or with very limited, resources or anything like that, that could be a big stressor. So sometimes after I get done with a big event, I literally just kind of close off and just, put my little wine or something on, and, go ahead and get me a little hookah or something. And I just kind of release for my own self, because, there's a lot that only one person can really take in.
Yeah.
So, you just keep good people around you and keep your personal space.
Yeah, it's definitely important to recharge. I think that's one thing I've figured out about myself as well, is that I definitely, when I go to these packed events, or even if I'm not working, if I'm not at an event with a lot of people, I definitely need time after that by myself, just to feel like I'm recharging and just like, okay, whew. But I think that's really good. You spoke about working out as well. So how often do you work out? Because you are snatched. You guys can't, I know you guys can kind of see it through the suit, but Jewerl is just snatched, man. So I have to know, what is your workout regimen, especially with you being in front of food all day? Like soul food.
Well, so funny is that I actually don't really eat that bad, for one. So I do work out, yes. Now, do not benchmark off of me, because some of this is just genetics. But the gym is made to counteract genetics.
Yeah.
And so I literally have always been a naturally slimmer person. I have some of my man weight on now because I'm approaching 30. And so it's different the way I can work out now and maintain a certain type of shape and physique. Now, I'm not a gym head, so I only go if I get 3 days, maybe 4 days in, that's a win for me for the week. I literally am
2 days is a win for some people.
Right. And so me having a track background, I'm very used to full body workouts, instead of like some people going in there doing upper, lower body these days and that, and interchanging it. And so I often may have days that I may want to do one muscle group a little bit more than the other, but essentially when I go in, I'm usually doing a full body workout because I'm used to my body being under that kind of trauma, I guess. But and that too, and then my diet. Like, I don't really, contrary to popular belief, as much do say wings and all that stuff that I may cook, I don't actually even turn my fryer on for myself really much at all. I don't really eat a lot of greasy foods like that as much. I grill more. I love a good salad. Most of my meats are literally, very rarely you're gonna catch me just eating a burger unless I'm here because I like Whataburger. But I don't really eat a lot of red meat. My little pleasure is steak and eggs at brunch. That's the most really you're gonna really catch me just like, oh, I'm eating red meat like that.
Yeah.
Mainly seafood. I'm definitely heavy on seafood.
Is this an intentional thing because you cook, or okay, that's just
how I eat. When I left off to college and started buying my own groceries, even though I grew up eating pork and everything. I didn't go buy that stuff when I went to the store, and so eventually, because I hadn't ate it so much, I sometimes would seem like my body would react to it differently.
Okay.
So I mainly eat chicken, turkey. I love turkey. I love a good turkey wing, and a lot of seafood. So a lot of fish, shrimp, and everybody know I'm always going to be down for some seafood. So you want a seafood boil? Y'all know I'm always down for that. So and that's how I eat, and that's literally kind of why I do maintain how I am. And I also don't cook in big, large portions. So I was cooking like I had a whole family in my house, and it was just me. And so literally I had to start scaling down, and that's basically how I started having a lot more portion control with things. And then like maintaining a regular schedule with meals and stuff. So I can eat like I'm meal prepping, but I don't meal prep. And so this is kind of like, for me, like when I say to people like, yeah, I can meal prep, but I'm gonna meal prep where it's enjoyable. So I'm still gonna cook a meal, and it's gonna stay within a certain food group alignment or whatever, but it's still gonna taste like something, but it's just gonna be proper portions for you, because some people just don't know how to not overindulge in certain things, and so that's kind of where they may go astray. It's not that you're necessarily eating bad, but you're just overindulging in certain things, sometimes a little bit too much. Your portion control is really big for people.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I kind of keep it together though.
Okay. So what would you say that you are manifesting personally for yourself and for your business in 2021?
I've been manifesting expansion. I've been manifesting having some type of either brick or mortar. And it's so funny that,
For those who don't know what brick and mortar is.
so that's actually having a physical building.
Yes. Okay.
And so, because some people have said you're gonna have a food truck or you're gonna have a restaurant, like, it goes right back to what I'm saying before about affirmation and confirmation coming all around you. And I don't even go out and talk to people about, I want to do this, I want to do that. They come and tell me, you're going to do this, you're going to have that. Like, this is good enough that you can go and you're in the right market. And as much as my mom sometimes wants me to come home and like, oh, just be here, I know I'm in the right market for what I'm doing. And people here that know me since a child and everything, they are like, you're in the right market because, for one, you literally fit that market.
This is you. This is good on you.
This is your threshold of where you need to be at. Like, this is where you're really going to excel. But on top of that, there's a need for this and where you're at. And so they've literally been speaking over me like every time, and they're like, you're going to have a restaurant. Like, you're going to, and my barber just said this here, my old school barber that I go to when I'm home, he was like, people call me Stro back home. And so it was like, Stro, you got to have a restaurant because you need to be able to work the room.
Yeah, and I can really see you work in the room too.
I work the room. And he said that is only, I mean, your food is already looking amazing and people are raving about it. But he said, but with your personality, he said, you need to be able to move around and work the room, because that is going to really bring together, the full experience. And I think about it too, about like even how Candy has, her aunts and stuff at OLG in Atlanta. That actually becomes a part of the experience, that you get to casually and not chase anybody down to talk to them and get a picture or anything and just say hi. They're willingly, as part of the experience, walking around tables and speaking to everybody, taking pictures, and really bringing that family essence of what OLG is. And I think that that's the same type of way that I could see myself. If I'm in my restaurant and I'm seeing people enjoying things or, anything, I'm walking around, I'm like, how's the food? Like, y'all liking it, y'all loving it, y'all hating it, what is it? Like, I'm that type of person, and I'm very much so one of those people that's not scared of rejection. So I'm like, okay, well, sorry you didn't like it, but, but never had that happen, thank God. But I think that I would definitely need to be in a place where I can have that direct kind of, you know, correspondence with people and be able to share kind of little moments and stuff, because that's something that I don't often get to do when I'm working in an event, even though I can see and hear people, but I don't often get to get on the floor and talk to everybody, or, you know, while they're actually tasting my product and anything like that. So, but yeah, so that's what I'm foreseeing, having that. Like, I see the brand expanding. I see me literally breaking the tape somewhere. So that's what I'm manifesting going into 2021. Just being on another level, and I think this is even definitely already kicking the door down early.
Definitely. Okay, so I only have like 2 more questions for you. I really would like to know, or like you to share. We talked about doing things that are forced and when it just feels right. I want you to speak to the people that maybe feel like, you know, they have something that they're passionate about, or maybe they don't know if what they're doing right now is what they're really passionate about. What's the difference between, you know, something feeling forced and being forced, and then you just knowing like, this is my passion, like how you just knew that cooking was your thing?
Some things are just nature. It's literally one of those things that you've already been in it. Like, if you're an artist, you've already been doing art. You do art just because, and you know, you've been told that you need to follow this path of education to have a certain type of career, to make a certain type of money and have some type of certain lifestyle, whereas your art could be just the same thing that creates that same lifestyle for you and may make more money. And so you have to really just trust. I always say pray over it, like any of us in the South, you know, we church people. So, you know, but you have to pray over it. You have to really manifest that, you know, you can do these things. You can speak and move away from negative people. There's always going to be somebody that can't see it. And one of the biggest things I've learned too is that if I say that I'm doing something and I feel that this is the right thing I should be doing, and somebody, even if it's somebody close to me, they don't really get it yet, be okay with not forcing their hand to see where you're seeing yourself at already, and just keep doing what you're doing. Don't let somebody talk you out of something because their vision isn't extending as far as yours at this prior moment. Like, they may catch it later. And sometimes they have to see you make it to really catch it later. But it's okay to let go of some of that, because you can speak yourself into something, or you can speak yourself right up out of it. And so that's kind of one of those things that you have to really just say, you know what, I'm gonna just go ahead and do it. And that's literally, I had an aha moment day. I said, you know what, I'm just gonna go ahead and sell these bowls and see what happens. And the very first time I did it, I flipped that pot into about $500.
Wow.
Like, very nonchalantly, like, hey, I'm selling bowls of gumbo. Like, some people had never even had my food yet before, ever. And it just looked good because they seeing me do my thing, and they're like, and that's how stuff starts. Like, and some people don't really recognize how small and effortless it can be for you to really launch yourself and start your platform up. But yeah, you have to just really believe in yourself and take a little faith move. I mean, some of the best moves are your risky moves, and sometimes operating in uncertainty and ambiguity is the best thing, because you also don't have any expectation for what you're going to receive out of it. So when it does work out for you, it will be in abundance.
Amen. That was a word. That was a whole word.
I'm gonna let PK.
I just want you to say, I want to repeat one more time, because I think that stuck out. You can speak yourself into something, but you can also speak yourself right on out of it.
Right on out of it.
If y'all don't take nothing else from this interview, take that. But lastly, this is a question that I ask in all my interviews. What is something that you would share with a young chef, caterer on the rise, or, you know, trying to start out, that you wish you would have known when you first started?
I first started. I would definitely say continue reinventing, like continue like getting your niche and find what that niche is, and continue to literally take it to the next level. Like, don't just get in something and be like, oh, I know how to fry chicken one way, I'm just gonna keep doing it this way, and this is what I have, because everybody's frying chicken. So you know, when you get inside of that zone and you're like, create your style. Like, this is why people go to certain artists, because every artist has a style. Everybody has a certain look that they're creating, or feel, or experience, etc. And so, you know, when you figure out that this is something that you enjoy doing, start making your own stuff.
Yeah.
And so that's literally how I started making my own Douce sauce. And I hadn't had Douce sauce before. People are always doing Henny sauce or something else. And so I literally never made sauce for anything before other than seafood. And so that's literally where I was just like, I want to make my own sauce. And once I kind of figured out what flavors I wanted to combine, I just kind of got in the kitchen and was practicing around until I locked it down. Oh, and big thing, write your stuff down that you're doing so that you can be able to replicate. That's kind of the biggest thing that can help you in the long run, because if you're just kind of, and most of us are just like, oh, I'm just cooking to taste, you know, etc. But
and then you make something real good, and
you
like,
make it real good, and
then
then you can't do it again, kind of thing. So like, definitely do that. Write things down. It's gonna be a little annoying at first, and you know, even if it's getting down to measurements, if you're those kind of people, but definitely do that, because it'll help you in the long run. And that's just, to me, for the youth growing into this kind of thing. I don't know, because then nobody tell me, but these are things that I've learned just from my own practical experience with things, because I'm used to just naturally cooking certain stuff. And now I'm like, when I'm doing things for people, and sometimes like, oh, you should add this, or you should add that. I'm like, no, I have to stay to my recipe right now, because I want it to be the same experience consistently for other people, and not have it giving variances with stuff.
Definitely.
So, yeah.
Well, I want to thank you, Jewerl, for just reaching out to me. I don't know if we actually said it, but Jewerl is not in Houston. Jewerl is in Atlanta. Like he said, he's been booked since he got to Houston. So you do make trips? Yeah,
I do travel.
He does travel, but he is in Atlanta. So if you're in Atlanta, holla at me. I'm just playing. But I just really want to thank you for just your time today, for wanting to be on this show. That made me feel really good, getting that call, and then knowing like kind of how you handle yourself and how you handle business. That really made me feel good as a producer, you know, creating this show, that somebody is taking it seriously. And thank you for all the past people who have taken it seriously as well. But now we are going to go ahead and get into Douce shrimp.
We're gonna do some Douce shrimp. So this is actually the first debut of it. You're the first to actually have these. I prepared them similar in seasoning as my Douce wings, but of course, you know, seafood definitely brings a different flavor element. And so I definitely want to make sure that she got to experience the Douce sauce and what that is. So you guys are gonna get to be the first to see the live reaction to the Douce sauce as well for the shrimp. So let's get ready to get to that.
Let's get into it.
Yes. Amazing. So we're gonna have Dejana take the first taste of the Douce wings, and so when you taste it, I want you, while you're eating it, I know everybody just usually goes in and just starts going down on it, but actually tell me some of the flavors that actually start standing out to you, the different spices, etc., so people can kind of get a deciphered kind of response about what this actually tastes like.
Okay, well, here I go. Oh Lord, you guys.
This is my first mukbang.
Oh, So the first thing that jumps out at me is like the citrus flavor. But it's also, I have to taste it again. It's like a hint of butter, not too much butter. The butter's not overpowering. There's something else that I'm tasting, but I don't even know what to call it.
The Douce sauce.
Good. Good. Whatever is mixed in with the Douce sauce, you guys, I could see me putting this over a bed of rice, eating it by itself. This would be a nice boiled sauce as well. To just have with your crab legs, your everything.
Let's actually give you a little sauce on the side to dip it into. Let's see.
Okay.
We're gonna do a full experience.
Okay, so this is the Douce sauce. I'm dipping my shrimp into it.
I love the sounds.
Okay. You guys are so good. And it's like, it has a kick to it, like you said, but it's not like kicking me out of the room. Like, oh my God. I'm one of those people that don't really care for when things are, I love spicy food, but I don't care for like an uncomfortable spicy.
Yeah,
Like,
it shouldn't be dreadful. It should be a spice that is literally,
it's welcome.
It's there. It's a nice little, hint to the thing, but you're not supposed to like put people on fire. Like, I think people get that misconstrued, especially with Cajun food. And I know people think this a lot with crawfish, especially because they're red, and they immediately think red pepper, and it's just hot, and it's not supposed to have flavor, and it's supposed to have flavor. Like, it's going to be spicy, but it's supposed to have flavor. So that's always the intention, and so I deliberately don't put cayenne pepper in a lot of my food, because when you cook with cayenne continues to get hot. And people do not notice that as it continues cooking, it's continuing to heat up.
I'm learning so much today.
So I don't do that with those certain things, and like certain seasonings that already have a little bit of red pepper in it. Even with my gumbo, I don't put any additional pepper into any of my stuff like that, because stuff that's going to continue cooking for a good amounts of time under certain type of temperatures, they become increasingly hot.
Yeah, this is very flavorful. I would love to eat this really. I eat horrible after like I have a long night of partying, things like that. I could see me being like, ooh, I got some of that Douce shrimp at home after the club.
Right.
I'm about to go home and just go down on that. But I do like that it is very flavorful. It is a little spicy, but it's like the spice is just right. It just sits there and it mixes into the flavor really well. I don't feel like I need to hurry up and drink some water or some wine or anything like that afterwards. Very, very tasty. Very tasty.
Lovely. So you guys have seen the first response right here only on Dijama Show. We're over here spotlighting black businesses, supporting a black business. And literally now y'all are going to be ready for it in 2021. And soon to be coming, the Douce sauce will be able to be shipped.
And I told him he needs to talk to J&B. I think they will support this. What do y'all think? Y'all
Let's call them up. Somebody give me a contact.
People know people who know people.
Please.
So I don't think that it's that far off. We're laughing about it right now, but I definitely think that I could see there being some type of,
Yeah. Well, we're speaking some more things into existence. We're going to go ahead and claim that now.
Exactly. But I really want to thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of the Black Owned Spotlight Show. I really want to thank you, Jewerl, for being here, for preparing this shrimp, for sitting down, for just being so prepared today. And I just hope that this interview and what Jewerl does and just how Jewerl carries himself has inspired you guys and is really opening your mind up to just own something, whether you're black or whatever, this is the Black Owned Spotlight Show, but I want everybody to get something from this. So I hope that you got something from this interview today. Before we go ahead and get out of here, Jewerl, please tell the people where they can find you.
So you can find me on Instagram at Amor. It's AMOR_MARTEL. That'll take you directly to my Instagram, and you can start seeing some of my food, more of the events that I'm doing. It's really directly to me. That's my personal Instagram right now, but this is a personal business right now. And so then I have my other website that's just directly for the food, where you can go in and inquire about quotes for food, and that's going to be at oddsandendz.com, and that's ODDZ ENDZATL.com, and you can see the full menu there. There's so much more in store than what people are even eating online and showing you for different events. So don't think that it's only gumbo, seafood pasta, and chicken wings and stuff. It's way more in there. So you can definitely try me on there. Contact me directly. I'll get on the phone with you and we can have a consultation and get you all set up for your own personal meal or for your event. And I also have one more thing for Dejana as a thank you.
I love gifts.
Yes. So we have her Oddz and Endz apparel. And
Merch.
That is your little merch, so you can make sure you're continuing to support the brand as you're out and about. Go ahead and swag it up and do what you're gonna do with it.
Oh, I will. That's one thing about me. I'll make a shirt mine.
So, but definitely a pleasure. I'm so excited that you had this show. I'm very glad to be a part of it, and even the fact that we have the background that we have amongst each other and being able to be where we are today, just moving in our own paths. And so, stay encouraged. Keep doing what you're doing. If you want to make that move to Atlanta, let me know. And so I'll definitely be in support and try and make sure that we get you in front of some other people as well that are doing so many great things. There's a lot of talent around us. Don't try and hold it all in for yourself. Pull your friend, pull your brother, pull your sister up and bring them into this type of environment and bring them to the show.
Okay, then. Well, I don't think there's more to say. Jill pretty much said it all. You guys can follow me on Instagram at day.todaytv. Make sure you also, if you're watching this on YouTube, go ahead and press that subscribe button, but also leave a comment, and just so you can stay tuned and see what I have to come with the Black Owned Spotlight show. Yeah. All right, so I want to thank you guys one more time for tuning in. You guys have a wonderful day, night, morning, wherever you're watching this, whenever you're watching this.
Yes, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Peace.